Hi, I am Father Jose Poch, the senior pastor of St. David's Anglican Church. In this series of videos, I would like to introduce you to the spiritual disciplines that lead us toward holiness and Christ-likeness. We are making this series of videos to help you in preparing you for the Lenten season this year, but I think it would be an error in our part to consider the spiritual disciplines only as a Lenten discipline. I think the spiritual disciplines need to become part of our daily life. They need to become a life practice, something we do in a very regular basis in order to set our hearts and lives in the life of the Spirit. The spiritual disciplines allow us to experience here on earth the abundance of deep spiritual life that Jesus so often teaches us about in the Gospels. They slow us down. The spiritual disciplines tend to help us slow down from the hurried way in which we tend to live our lives. They focus and center us on things which are truly the important things of our lives. Our communion with God, our fellowship with others, and very importantly, our own personal deep reality of the soul within us. The spiritual disciplines are not for giants of the faith, nor are they solely for the contemplatives and the mystics that we may have heard about. And they're also not a drudgery, something that is boring, that is hard, that is difficult for us. On the contrary, the spiritual life center us to be everything that God intended us to be. What we must keep in mind, though, when it comes to the spiritual disciplines, is the purpose of the disciplines, as a tool for godliness, Christ-likeness, and for the Spirit-filled life, so that it never becomes boring and certainly never becomes a drudgery. The spiritual disciplines are not hard. They truly and honestly are not difficult. They require commitment and constancy and a longing in our hearts for the heart of the living God and for His presence in our lives. Christ-likeness is something that we grow into. In fact, in 1 Timothy, St. Paul says in chapter 4, verse 7, discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness. So this is something that we need to do. It doesn't come necessarily natural. So it is a discipline, a commitment that is required for us to grow. The end result of the disciplines will be the abundance of life. Freedom from the natural that surrounds us, and from the fleshly appetites that even though we perform, they really never completely satisfy us. The purpose of the spiritual disciplines is for us to reach the Christ-like character that will gradually be transformative in you. The spiritual disciplines are intended for our good. The spiritual disciplines have been part of my life in so many ways. Some of the spiritual disciplines that we're going to be discussing are things that I myself have practiced and have helped me build into a man in connection with God, in communion with God, a man that constantly seeks to hear from God and to be what God would want me to be. We want to recommend to you, and at the end of each of these videos, we will recommend to you a number of books or rather resources that will help you grow farther into the spiritual disciplines. The book that seems to be the classical book on spiritual disciplines, and my number one recommendations to you, is a book by Richard Foster called Celebration of Disciplines. Another book that I use and have been using and will continue to use is a book by a guy named Donald Whitney, which is called Spiritual Disciplines for the Christian Life. I pray that this series of videos will help you to grow closer to God, to grow more intimate with God, and to grow more intimate with yourself, in your soul, and in your spirit. I hope you'll enjoy it.